I'm going to show you how to make a record. I made 100 copies of this album. It's a small run. It's the only time I ever made a vinyl record with my music on it. So it was something I always wanted to do, so I could have a copy and other people as well. And this album just went up on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music yesterday, but tell you everything you need to know if you want to make a record yourself. And it's a bit of a process, but it's totally doable if you have the money and the time. Okay, step number one is you have to record the record. You have to record the album. I mean, that doesn't change, right? So anything you've done in the past to record a record, hence going into a studio with musicians, recording it track by track, that process is going to be the same. Let me think about that for a second. Yeah, it's pretty much going to be the same. The first part of the process that's going to be different is when you get to the mastering stage. The person mastering the album will have to master it for vinyl release. Well, I'm sort of summarizing, but it basically needs to be like a lower strength signal. It can't be quite as hot as a digital release. I don't know a lot about that myself, but I hired someone who knew what they were doing, and they more or less explained it to me in that sense. So I got two masters. One was for the digital release that would go to streaming sites, and the other master was specifically for the manufacturer who's going to press the records. So that's step number one. Okay, step number two is to choose your manufacturer. So every step that is going to follow hereafter is dependent in some way on who's manufacturing this record for you. If you live in a major city in North America, Asia, Europe, Australia, there should be a manufacturer or someone who facilitates the printing and pressing of vinyl records for you. The closer, the nearer you are to the manufacturer, the less shipping. You might pay $200 or $300 extra in shipping to have all this stuff shipped to you when the project's done. Every step that follows is going to be dependent in some way upon who's manufacturing this record for you, or who's facilitating the manufacturing of it for you, like who's your supplier, right? So yeah, step number two is pick your manufacturer. Step number three is what can you afford to make, basically. This is going to be a project that's going to require a bare minimum of around, all in, probably $1,300 to $1,500 US for, let's say, 100 copies of a vinyl record. Just on the printing alone. That doesn't include hiring your designer, your studio costs, or anything like that, of course. This is just the manufacturing of the album. So what can you afford to make? This is really important because there's a number of steps involved in step number three that you have to consider. The first of which might be, what is the base minimum number of records that your supplier will print for you? Because that number varies quite a bit. You can't just print one record, even if you just wanted to have one for yourself. I mean, maybe you could do that, but it would be very, very expensive in most cases. Some boutique companies that will do like a single record for you, but there's usually some kind of catch to it. Like it might not be a full length. It might just be like an oversized 45 essentially. You can fit like up to 30 minutes of music on it, or maybe less. I have seen that in some places. And that might be an option for you. In fact, if you're watching this video, that might be something you're thinking about. So definitely try to get that sorted out in this stage of deciding what it is you can afford. But most suppliers have a bare minimum of, well, at least 100 records would be on the low end. On the high end, some companies, like, for example, I'm in Thailand right now, and the manufacturer's name in Bangkok is Resurrect Pressing Plant, and their minimum is 300 units. This all comes back to the budget and what you can afford. Okay, step number four. Now is the time you need to decide the artwork and the layout of your album. At this point in the project, hopefully you already have your designer picked out who's going to be doing this artwork and this layout for you. If not, I strongly recommend you sort that out, and I would strongly recommend using someone that you've worked with before, someone that you trust and you have confidence in, or hire someone who has come recommended to you and who has done it before. There's going to be a template and that template will include dimensions, file, type, etc. These are all things that your designer is going to need to be able to fulfill for that company. And so the fun parts of this project are kind of in step 4, actually. There's a bunch of decisions that you have to make. For example, talked about the color of your record. What color is your record going to be? Is it going to be black? Is it going to be transparent like this one? I have some others. This guy's name is Ben Valley from Montreal. This is a record that he just made on the traditional black vinyl, and I think it looks pretty good. You can see that it's a very retro looking album. I mean, this looks like it's straight out of the 1960s, right? So that was done really well, and he did not need to have a color, he did not need to pay extra for color vinyl in order to do this. Here's another Canadian record. This one's got the, I don't know what this is going on here. I was gonna say splatter. I don't know if that is a splatter, but this is Post Data record here. This is Justin Bieber, Changes. And this record, well, you might have guessed, this record is going to be red. There's 2 of them in here. And let's see what else we got here. This one looks pretty cool. Kind of an aqua. What else do we got? And Casey Musgraves. This is the pink one. I don't know how you feel about this, but this is pageant material here. And I think you can even get different, like each side a different color in some cases. I'm pretty sure you can. So those are some options. Those are all fun to look at. The next thing in this list is thinking about the center label. So your center label is it going to be in color or not? These are things that cost extra, and what's that going to look like? You can actually have a different color center label on each side. You can have a different design for the center label if you want. This is a Kurt Weill record. This is a record you probably already have. You must have this record in your collection, of course. This has got different center labels on all 4 discs, if I remember correctly. That was blue and gray, and this one is orange. This is all one album, so you can get really carried away with all that stuff if you'd like. The next component of this is the inner sleeve. So we'll take this old Pete Drake record, because this is not going to be anything fancy. This has just got the white, well in this case it's yellow from Time, but the other option is, like I'll show you on the record I made, you can have a printed inner sleeve, which is pretty cool, and you can put the lyrics on it like I did here. Fun stuff. Yeah, this is a good idea. As opposed to this, you can have the white inner sleeve and then have an insert. This is actually a gatefold vinyl, because it's a double album. And then inside it, he's actually just got the white inner sleeve that I was telling you about, and the red record. It's just a separate piece of, I want to say paper, but, and a picture of her on the other side. So you could have a white inner sleeve with this. Hers is actually a printed inner sleeve as well as an insert, because on the inner sleeve she's just chosen to have pictures here. So these are some of the different components inside of step 4. Also, are you going to have a 140 gram or 180 gram record? That's something that might come up. I don't really know what to tell you on that one. You want to have 180 gram for like audiophile reasons. That's something you can think about. Another component is, are you going to have shrink wrapping or not? Are you going to have a, there's going to be options for this too. You can have a bag with a seal on it. You can have kind of a plain, I don't know what this is, polyurethane plastic type sleeve. You can, there's all kinds of different options. You can actually have the record shrink wrap as well, so that you have to peel the shrink off it when you first open it up. And then the other thing in this, the other part of step 4 is if you're going to have a test pressing or not. A test pressing shockingly, yeah, it says test pressing on it. That's pretty much what it is. Yeah, test pressing side A and B. There's no artwork with it. It just looks like this. And it tells you everything you need to know about a test pressing. This is just for you to listen to. Listen to it all the way through. Make sure there's no issues sonically. Also, the shipping of that test pressing is another thing to add into the budget. These are all decisions that you'll make inside of step 4. All right, step 5 is going to be creating the artwork. After you've picked out all the different options that we just looked at, you're going to need to get the artwork created. And this might involve a photo shoot, research, I don't know, any number of things really it could involve. But essentially step 5 is really mostly in the hands of the designer. If you're not designing the artwork yourself, that is, until you've settled on the final design of your artwork. And at that point, your designer can actually send the files to the supplier themselves, or send you a link, Dropbox, Google Drive link, and you can forward it to the manufacturer. Files might look something like this. I'll just give you an example of what you'll be looking at here, not that. The final, like the artwork that you send to the manufacturer probably is going to have these cut lines on it. I think it's usually a PDF. This is the front and back of my album. Here's the insert here. It's sideways, and here's the label, A and B, and there's all kinds of particular details and information here so it's probably going to look like that. Don't be surprised if that's what you see. Yeah, that's step 5, the artwork. All right, step 6. At this point, the bulk of the work has been done. That's the good news. These next few steps are going to fly by real quick. Step 6 is sending off the final files of your project to the supplier, including the artwork and the WAV files of your songs. Send it all to the manufacturer and sign off on that. And that's pretty much step 6. Step 7 might involve listening to the test pressing. As I talked about earlier, yeah, you may be getting a test pressing. The test pressing is probably just going to be on a black disc, regardless of what colors you picked out. Give that a listen to, and it's pretty straightforward, really. This might be kind of exciting, might be kind of fun. Listen to it in the same system that you listen to all your other records in, or in the event that you don't have a turntable, find someone who does and go to their place and listen to it. And that actually might happen to you, given, especially if you're traveling or whatever the case may be, you might not even have access to a turntable. So go get that sorted out and maybe listen to it once in headphones for good measure the whole way through, just to be sure, and check the order of the songs and all that. That's step 7. Step 8 is really simple. Sign off for the last time on everything. Sign off with the supplier and wait. You're going to be waiting 3 to 4 weeks, maybe more, maybe a tiny bit less, but you're going to have a good month or more probably of waiting for all of this to get pressed and sent back to you. The records I had done were actually manufactured in Czechoslovakia, I think, is where they sent this project off to. So yeah, there's going to be a waiting period. Could be as long as 6 weeks. Step 9 is arranging the shipment or picking up of your final shipment of your records. If you live within 100 kilometers of the manufacturer, the liaison, the supplier, whoever did this project for you, you probably will just drive to them and get them yourself. That would be cheaper than having them shipped to you. If you're going to have them shipped, that's fine. Probably take 3 or 4 days, maybe a week altogether, and arrange that. And at that point, the project will have pretty much been paid for in full. So step 10 is pretty obvious. Hopefully you're happy with the final product. Yay! And just enjoy listening to your very own vinyl record for the first time. Should be a pretty cool experience for you. And it's not something that everyone is going to get to experience in their lifetime. Think of it that way. And hopefully you're happy with the final product. And at this point, you can go out and start showing it and selling it to friends and family, and recouping some of the many thousands of dollars that you spent making your vinyl record. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed this and have a great time making your vinyl album. Take care, keep it country. We will see you later.